The term the matrix becomes very popular during a spiritual awakening, and yet many of us still don't know exactly what a matrix is. So today I'm going to be explaining exactly what a matrix is so that we can remove the mystery around it and understand it from a larger perspective. Most of the time that people are referring to the matrix, they're basically referring to a simulated reality where we are inside a construct that is meant to be almost like a virtual reality. And yet, this isn't exactly what a matrix is at all. In fact, a matrix is an organic creation of consciousness. It's how consciousness creates a physical, material experience for us to then project our consciousness into. So what a matrix actually is, at its very core, is an extracellular tissue, especially inside animal tissue, or even if we think of plant tissue. It's some form of tissue that is being constructed so as to have an overlay around it, some form of womb that then is enclosed or encased. And then within that encasing is all of the life force that is being expressed within that extracellular tissue. So in this case, a matrix, being what our consciousness is projecting itself into, would be the extracellular tissue, but tissue in this case would mean the fabric of space and time. So a matrix is a construction of space and time. In fact, any time you're thinking of a dimension where it contains space and time, that is configured into a matrix. So instead of viewing the matrix as some scary concept or a simulation, the most proper and objective way to look at a matrix is there being a construct of space and time. And that fabric of space and time is what forms a matrix. We even see this truth of a material reality that's enclosed within space and time inside the name the matrix, because where the term the matrix originates from is from matrice, and matrice is referring to matter, and matter is Latin for mother. That's why when we refer to what school we come from, we say our alma mater. It's meaning where we originated from. And so mother, meaning matter, then gets translated into matter, which is what we're in. It's the densest form of spirit. So from matter comes matter, physicality, and from there it forms this extracellular tissue to create a matrix. Now, the matrix that we're specifically in is a projection of the fourth density, or what some people refer to as the fourth dimension. So you could look at the fourth dimension as being the matrix that is enclosed, and within it is the third dimensional construct that we're in. So we're inside the fourth density or fourth dimension, and then from there, the third density is the physical reality, the physical experience of what's going on in the fourth dimension. Now, if you'd like to know more about what I mean when I'm referring to the fourth dimension, you can watch my video specifically on that topic titled The Fourth Dimension Explained. To be even more precise, a matrix is a hologram. So, what is a hologram then? A hologram is a projection of light. A hologram is made up of waves that are called interference patterns. These interference patterns are created from the light of source consciousness, splitting itself into two streams of light, and then crossing paths with each other from a different angle. One beam of light represents time, and the other beam of light represents space. But a better way of describing interference patterns are as a weaving. These waves of light cross paths, and when they do, they mingle with one another, creating a net. And it is this netting that produces the tissue, or the fabric, or the matrix of space and time. Interference patterns are waves of light and light is vibration. So a matrix is the weaving of vibrations that create interference patterns, and these patterns are the womb that we grow, develop, and evolve our soul within. Now, the fractal nature of reality, being as fractally as it is expressed now with us being born inside a womb. And we're in a womb. So we're in the fourth density womb of space and time, right? The one thing that people mainly know about the fourth dimension, if they know anything about it at all, is it's expressed as a hypercube. And the hypercube is the geometrical way of saying a matrix. But when we're inside our mother's physical womb, being nourished and fed, that is a fractal version of reality, because that's what we're in this physical experience. We're inside a womb, and that's at the heart of what the matrix means. A matrix is an extracellular tissue, which is known as the fabric of space and time in this case, right? Because we're talking about the esoteric meaning of it, not just what it means at the most basic form of reality. So the womb of the fourth dimension is what we're in. We've projected our consciousness into a physical experience, into a womb, so as to experience the physicality. And that is a matrix. So matrix really means, at the end of the day, if we were to just cut out all the different terminology, even the Latin etymology, matrix means womb. So outside of a matrix, what we would really have is the pure state of timelessness and of spirit. And so spirit uses a matrix in order to create the illusion of separation and the illusion of chronological time. Because only within the fabric of space and time can we actually experience physicality, separation of consciousness, aka the ego, and an individuated experience. And with all of these is the chronological order of time. So a fabric of space and time is created in order for there to play out a beginning, middle, and end. Because outside of the construct of space and time, and therefore outside of the construct of a matrix, there is no time. We are in the expression of our eternal nature, which is always in the constant now moment. So we belong to timelessness, and we create a matrix in order to experience the illusion of chronological time, where things play out as a past, present, and future, which does not exist outside of a matrix. And a common misconception that people have about matrices is that they're only experienced at very physical levels of reality. And through the physical reality, we experience a chronological illusion of time. But that in higher levels of reality, and aka higher dimensions, that there's no such thing as space and time. When in reality, the higher dimensions beyond the fourth density still experience a space-time. It's just so finely tuned that it's not even anywhere near the way that we experience this denseness of being inside a matrix and being inside the pure expression of separation and therefore separation of time. But higher levels of dimensions still have a more finely tuned experience of space and time until you get all the way up into the highest dimensions before source consciousness, where there is no space-time fabric. But there's still a space-time fabric inside the fifth dimension and beyond. It's just that it's nowhere near the resemblance of our construct. To better illustrate exactly what I'm talking about, imagine a spider web and that weavings that go into one. There can be really heavy webs that are stickier and thicker. And then there could be ones that are just starting off, or ones that are way less thick and dense. And so those would look like just fine gossamer strands versus other ones that are more established and therefore more dense. That's exactly what a matrix would look like if we're talking about this from a metaphysical viewpoint versus densities. So there can be denser matrices, meaning denser fabrics of space and time, and then less denser fabrics of space and time that are configured or woven in such a way that the consciousness that wishes to experience that dimension does not need to have such a separate experience of self and the illusion of chronological time. So with all of this being said, it's actually a massive disservice to the term matrix when we purely create a synthetic construct and start identifying the matrix as being this completely synthetic virtual reality simulation, because that has its roots disconnected from the organic matrix that space-time reality is actually from. Because consciousness is using a matrix to co-create. So it's a collaborative process to experience different layers of density, different layers and dimensions that we can access different experiences in, and different forms of separation consciousness so that we can actually experience an individual ego that has a beginning, middle, and end. In fact, the more we start energetically entraining ourselves into believing that a matrix is a virtual simulation, we start spiritually disconnecting from the truth of it being the maternal womb that we experience physicality through. And by cutting ourselves off with this higher truth of what a matrix is, we start purely resonating with its most synthetic and its most artificial paradigm that we can view this concept through, which makes it hard for us to go through the organic ascension process when we are completely cut off from accessing the higher nature of reality and aligning with the higher nature of reality if our body-mind-spirit complex is oriented towards and entraining its energy field into believing that we are just in a complete virtual simulated reality. So you could see how the higher knowledge, the higher gnosis of what a matrix is, depends on where we energetically align ourselves with. And one of those ways that we energetically align ourselves can be very detrimental to our own spiritual evolution and ascension. Because at the end of the day, another term for the matrix is also referring to the matrix of the mind. So you have a physical, organic matrix that we're in, and then you have one for our mind. And the mind can get stuck in its own mental matrix, which would then turn into its own mental prison. So when our body-mind-spirit complex is not connected to the true meaning of many of these terms that are very popular during a spiritual awakening, we start accidentally, energetically entraining our energy in their negative expression or their detrimental paradigm and form of those terms. And when we do that, we further reinforce what these mean inside our mental matrix. And so just like how we have a physical reality, the mind is a superior aspect of creation, meaning the mind creates. We know this as the first hermetic law of this universe, which is the universe is mental. So being that we're in a fractal experience, it makes sense that if we're in a matrix, a womb, that our mind is also in a matrix. And so the mental matrix is very powerful. And it's very important to align the mental matrix with the experience that it's in, because thought creates. Not only does thought create, but our imagination meaning our creative mental power, is so powerful that it also has the ability to align us energetically. And that's why it's important for us to not get disconnected from the higher truth of what a matrix means, which is it's an organic expression of consciousness. Consciousness emanating from the mental matrix and also into a physical reality from mind. And so the more you start to awaken from the mental matrix that's acting as a mental prison of spiritual amnesia, and we start aligning with our aspect, the higher self that is outside of the construct of space and time, we start remembering our true origins as powerful mental creators. And then what we end up doing is transforming our mental matrix into the organic expression of consciousness, projecting itself into space-time in order to experience a separate and material reality. I hope this has reconfigured your perception of matter. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for higher dimensional guidance through spiritual awakening. See you next time.